Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Ljubljana Talks. And today and right now I'm here with Gorazd Čad from Toleranza Marketing, myself Jan Oršič from Ljubljana Tourism Convention Bureau, and with us we have two esteemed guests, so Padraic Gilligan from Solnua and Boštjan Horjak from Liberty Adriatic.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about the first day of IMEX 2023 and how it went and what we heard and what we want to talk about and the things that struck us and just pretty much everything we want to talk about. So thank you guys for joining.
Pleasure. Absolutely. Yeah, do you want to start? You start first and then I'll copy what you say.
Great. No, actually I can say, from my perspective, I can see that things are back in track, as we were used to do it before our famous pandemic crisis. I see that lots of people are coming up again. There's, I would say, very good positive vibration among the partners, among the participants. When it comes to the, I would say, content, we can see, of course, a huge increase in demand for the sustainability, which is again positive side. I'm really positive. Yes,
apples.
Very positive about it, and it's a great. Thank you. Yeah, Slovene apples, and that's a good moment, I would say. Well, I'm always, Gorazd, you know it yourself too, that prior to COVID, clients were interested into that topic. A little bit. Now I can see that there's much more interest and there's really requests coming for it.
Yeah.
So that's I would say would be my message for today. As I can say, extremely lively. A lot of movement. So that means that people are eager to come back again, to join, to meet, and that's all about our industry at the end of the day. Huh? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I agree fully. In a way, This is the first official day of the show, but obviously most of us were here already yesterday and participating in a variety of different things. So yesterday I had the privilege of being part of a corporate gathering of about 100 top leaders from corporations around the world who are active in the event space. It's what they do. And the interesting thing there, certainly sustainability, that was a topic that we talked about, but the really interesting thing there was to notice the kind of the emerging dichotomy between those companies that are, let's say, leading with the digital side of the event experience as opposed to the in-person side. So if you imagine it's a kind of a spectrum, on one side you've got digital, on the other side you've got in-person. Previously, all our events were over there on the in-person side, and then when COVID happened, all the events went over to the other side. Yeah, and now we're kind of finding, a different position on that spectrum. The tech companies in the room yesterday were advocating very strongly for the digital experience.
Yes, exactly.
Led by Microsoft. Yeah. And in a way, you'd say, well, they would say that because they've created the platform.
Yes.
Whereas the likes of EY, for example, and a lot of the other corporations in the company, or in the gathering yesterday, were very, very much on the in-person and really anxious to get back to in-person. And it was interesting just to note, this is the first show where we have a world that's open. Because last year, China wasn't open.
Exactly.
China has only opened in the meantime.
Exactly.
So exactly. 2 months ago. Exactly. So now the whole world is open. So what are we seeing? And I don't think it has settled yet into a pattern. But I think there's interesting discussions about what direction it will go.
I mean, if you think about it, last year, April, was the beginning of the end of the epidemic.
Yeah.
Last year, that's a year ago, we went to IMEX and we were all wearing masks and, hugging with a distance and all that stuff. It was extremely emotional and nobody knew where it's going to take us. So I think that there are, this is still an echo. It's a year ago. We are forgetting that this was a year ago that we were locked down. China opened up, like you said, just recently. And the world is, I think our industry is so eager to go back to what it was. But at the same time, we're forgetting that we are dealing with a new mental state, you know, what people are looking for. And I've been critical about the fact that we are kind of pushing away the hybrid model. Virtual, that's a different topic, but hybrid is something that was more democratic than what we have as a typical live event.
Yeah.
It allows more people to participate. And
It's
one of
more
the,
inclusive, let's
exactly.
say so. Yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah.
And ICA has had, I was partly involved with the ICA Association program on Sunday and Monday. And on Monday, they told me they were talking a lot about the alternative means of revenue for associations. And some are really thinking of becoming the PCOs, or they're thinking of doing whatever, or they're, but the core idea is, if you are an association, if you can actually make your audience, your membership larger by creating content that is available to those who are not capable or willing, or don't have the possibility to travel, then you're actually creating another revenue stream. Wouldn't you agree?
Like one of the points that was made yesterday was Microsoft, who were running an event in Seattle, and they were going to have 5,000 people at the event, but they were going to have 200,000 people logging on to the event. Now, in a corporate environment, I think that might work. I think the difficulty is when it comes to the association space, because an association, in a way, runs an event as part of its business model. That's where its revenues are coming from. And I think, unfortunately, exactly. And I think, unfortunately, what happened was we pushed the toothpaste out of the tube during COVID, and we gave away all of that content for free. Yeah. And now we're trying to get the toothpaste and put it back into the tube again. You can't do that. You can't do it. Exactly.
We live in a world where we know there is no such thing as a free lunch.
Exactly. Well, some of us still would like to have the free lunch.
Oh yeah, I know, but at the end of the day, somebody's paying for it.
Yeah.
And I think content-wise, that is what we're trying to do. I mean, sure, you have to have a certain amount of free, enticing, and liberal, democratic content that is out there. But as we know, there is a lot of master classes that are all payable. We know that there is a certain level of expertise. And as an old saying would say, every school costs something, but the good one is very expensive. So, perhaps COVID was good for us.
With the associations as well.
I'm not that much involved in the associations, but exactly when you guys talk about this type of business, which is mainly, I would say, into the meetings, and then actually when there's a single event, then I would definitely also consider and understand those clients. But when it comes to the, I would say, MICE business, I mean the incentives, the pure incentives, this I still believe, and I'm convinced that nothing can beat the live, I would say, gathering, at the end of the day, experience, and so on, what all the incentives are all about,
Well, one of the saddest memories that I have of COVID was hearing about an incentive travel experience that had been postponed, but they wanted to recognize the qualifiers. So they organized an online awards ceremony, and they kind of sent out the food and the bottle of champagne to, and they asked them all to put on their kind of tuxedos and sit in front of a screen. And I'm thinking, that's sad. I mean, it's a good effort, but it's sad. So
it was probably just the top part of the tuxedo with the pajamas.
One company in Slovenia survived because of that. The company. It's a team building agency. They survived because of that. But coming back to you, Boštjan, with AI knocking on our doors, do you still believe that trade show is something which is part of your marketing mix, or you are thinking about something else, I'm just provoking you, so.
It's a very good question, I mean, look, anyhow, I think that we all as an industry should probably reconsider I would say our type of sales activities. I'm not so much sure that the trade show would go forever. I don't think we are still considering this. Okay, yes, definitely, it's great place, great time to meet the clients and everything, but at the same time, when we take into consideration all the time being spent, all the costs and everything, I think that we as an industry should maybe reconsider a lot of different options of the sales, that we are doing.
It's a kind of nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
So what is your first memory about IMEX, for example, Padraic?
Oh, my first memory about IMEX, it goes back a long time, so I've probably forgotten it. So, maybe my first memory is not my first memory, really. The first thing I can remember is actually a different thing from my first memory. But anyway, it's definitely it's the feeling of connecting with other people. It's the feeling of building relationships. It's the feeling, particularly, of going the first time and then going the second time and meeting people that you had met before, and now there's more of the relationship. It's like a layered thing, and in ways, I'm obviously, like us all, I'm fascinated by by AI and by Chat GPT, although I think it's a circus trick at the moment. I mean, I'm more curious about this circus trick than I have actually figured out what it's going to mean. But in relation to what trade shows foster ultimately, which is trust, I don't think you can create that through artificial intelligence. I don't think trust is a quality that you can foster in some kind of a digital environment. It's just not going to work. So in a way, if I think about my career in business, I always wanted to do business with people whom I could trust. And that, Boston.
Yeah,
that's the way it is. Yeah.
Guys, you're coming with SITE projects. You have SITE member tag here, and SITE is coming to Slovenia. Padraic is
I can give it to you.
yeah, of course. What can you say? What do you expect from Slovenia coming back from this trade show story to the real networking, which will happen in what, 3 weeks time?
No, in July.
In July, yeah, in July.
The 15th of July.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
You go first.
Well, I can say as a destination, we can be extremely proud and happy that this event at the end will go to Slovenia. I mean, there are so many destinations that are bidding for the same thing within Europe, and we as a destination, I think we can be extremely proud that sites will come to Slovenia in July. We're happy to see all the hosted buyers, and I think at the same time, it's also kind of recognition to our hard work, to our presentation of the Slovenia through the site excellence. I would say that's my personal belief, but you will say more, Padraic, that actually this event is coming to us.
Well, I think that, in the history of associations, there's always been, I think, the connection between the association and the destination. And the relationship between SITE and Slovenia is not young. It's an old relationship. It's been going on for many years. So it's a relationship that has a lot of trust built up in it. And, personalities like yourself, Jan, personalities like you, Gorazd, you've been part of that. You're trusted in this industry, you're associated with the destination. And, people who are members of SITE know that. And they're going to, those who haven't been to Slovenia before are going to Slovenia in the knowledge that they're going to see trusted friends and individuals who've been part of that destination, who've lived the personality of that destination, and who have been ambassadors for the destination for so long. I feel there's maybe, 5 countries in the world that I feel a very, very special level of affinity with, for whatever reason. I don't know whether it's a cultural thing, whether I've got some sort of weird Slovene gene buried deep within me, or You know,
There is a historic connection between the Irish and Slovenians, but I'll tell you that over a drink. So
I think there might be some Celtic connection, but anyway, I've always felt a great kind of affinity. I think,
Not just car, eh?
yeah.
Not just real car.
No,
just
do you know
very
what I think it is? I think it's the small country phenomena. I think when you're a small country, it gives you a particular kind of view of the world. And if you're a small country that's surrounded by bigger, more powerful countries, your view of the world is sharpened even more. And I think Slovenians and Irish people are living in that reality. It has shaped who we are. It has shaped our personality. It has shaped how we see the world. And I think it has given us, I would think that it's given us really which is the most precious thing of all, it's given us a great sense of humor, do you know? And that's a wonderful thing.
But it's
We laugh a lot.
We
you
talked
know?
about it with colleague Kadri from Estonia.
Yeah.
Exactly the same actually story occurred before. Ne? So it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I agree with you definitely. That sentiment of small nations is quite specific.
and we kind of feel for each other. We have the same challenges, the same issues,
exactly.
and
We voted for you in the Eurovision.
there you go. And funny you should say that. I wanted to say, you know that Eurovision is the largest hybrid event in the world.
Oh, I bet you.
That's for sure. Eh?
If you think about it, it's a hybrid event.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So I want to go back to what you said now. Basically, we're boiling down this conversation, and it comes down to trust. So IMEX is an opportunity to create trust. You know, SITE, every time that we meet each other, it is not just recognizing the face, but kind of understanding that we are joined by the same ideals, by the same values. And I think trust is actually something that we're not perhaps talking about enough in the industry. But at the same time, it could be the reason why our industry is so small, because it is built on trust.
I don't know, do you want to say anything on that? I agree with you that 100%.
Completely, me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I mean, we know each other for more than just, you know, a couple of days or hours or minutes. And I find it so fascinating that when we're talking about trust, it is something that you develop and take time. And I think a lot of the younger generations, because we've been talking about, you know, all the changes in the marketplace and difficulty of finding staff and education of the new generations and bringing them to the labor market. And I think it's this patience and time and the dedication that one has to have if you want to be successful in this industry.
Definitely. The dedication and patience. I would call patience definitely.
Very much, very much. I mean, we could open another whole kind of area of conversation here around, like, because we're essentially of a certain kind of age category. So we've lived through traditional kind of working environments where we went into offices. And you know, exactly.
Teleprinters.
Yeah. Even fax machines. Yeah. And in a way, that has given us it shaped our kind of understanding of work and so on. But I guess the question I have is whether the next generation, you know, if IMEX is still in existence in 10 years' time, what will it look like? Yeah. You know, how will its kind of how will it express itself? How will people come together?
More in the terms of interaction, like,
yeah,
you know, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really an interesting question.
It is. Yeah. It is, because I think, you know, the work patterns that people are involved in now are just pretty different. I was going to say radically different in some respects. Yeah. You know, like there are young people in most of our cities that have never been in an office. They could be working for a global corporation, and they may have graduated, they may have finished their university online, they may have actually entered, you know, KMPG or whatever, one of the big companies, and never gone into an office and worked as part of a virtual team.
A lot of incentives. That's for sure. to maintain this, you know.
True.
So yeah,
that's true. And
Guys,
that's an interesting opportunity as well. Yeah.
we are slowly running out of time, but I have some short questions for you. Is free internet access at events your fundamental right, Padraic?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
How do you know if an event agency is actually sustainably oriented, Boštjan?
I would only say
Certificate? Or
no. Show the data and demonstrate it. That's it. No certificate. Show the data.
Do you believe that driving an electrical car is green, sustainable, carbon-free, carbon neutral, whatever?
I drive a plug-in hybrid myself. I wasn't ready to make the decision to drive an e-car. I visit my son who lives about 300 kilometers away. So again, I'm thinking on that journey, it's not going to work. But I've also read lots of, contrarian viewpoints in relation to the production of the car itself. Apparently, is more carbon heavy than what it would have been if it was. Yeah. So I'll reserve the answer on that one, Gorazd. Yeah.
Scott, the most boring event format for you is what?
The most boring event
Event format.
The most boring
Workshop, panel discussion. You know, maybe
I can give you mine.
I would just say a boring presentation of the panelist without any interaction. That's a boring.
Okay. And the last short questions, I will start. Beer or wine for both of you?
Oh, wine.
Wine.
Slovenian wine.
wine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wine, definitely. Yeah.
Mountains or sea?
A good question combination, I would say.
I'm mountains, but I'm married to somebody who's sea, so it's an interesting.
You would like to go, but you never do,
The
right?
last one, winter, summer?
Winter.
Summer.
Summer. Okay, guys. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for
Great
joining us.
pleasure.
So, guys, stay tuned. Tomorrow we start at 10 o'clock. Thanks to our guests. Jan, the last word is yours.
Yeah, well, in a year's time, we will repeat this and we'll see if anything changed.
And we listen what we were talking
Exactly,
today.
exactly. It's gonna be our lives. Great.
Thank you so much, Jan. Thank you, Gorazd.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.